Welcome to Create, Inspire, Repeat. I'm Susan Gifford, the Culture and Development Director here at Touchstone Merchandise Group, headquartered in Mason, Ohio.
And I'm Austin Baker, our Multimedia Director. Today we're talking to disruptive visionaries about their brand stories, their inspirations, and their why.
In this podcast, we're talking to people who have created some of the most electric and dynamic brands out there and trying to find out what makes them awesome. And we hope you're inspired, activated, and have something to take back to your day-to-day work to make it even better.
And today we're going to be talking to Jeremy Lott from SanMar. He's important because he was able to activate his team and his leadership to make huge change that didn't only affect their office, but whole communities in third world countries.
Yeah, this change they made is outrageous.
Yeah.
But just in my day-to-day work and the career that I've had, I know there's been either myself or someone else who's really excited about some new initiative or a change, but the thing can't get off the ground because everybody's looking at leadership, and leadership isn't behind the effort.
And that's something I've seen in previous jobs is a lot of times companies love to stay in their little box and the situation where they like to do what they've done before. And Jeremy talked about how to get out of that comfort zone and to experience new things that will change up your culture and change up who everyone is. And I think for me, that's the hardest thing when it comes to growing a company is sometimes you do have to shake it up. You do have to try new things to allow your company to grow in a unique and different way than it's done before.
Yeah, you can't come up with those new ways of thinking unless you get out of your comfort zone. That comfort zone is safe. If you go out of your comfort zone, that fight or flight kicks in and your lizard brain just wants to get you back to somewhere that you're familiar with. I had some friends, Jay Messner and Stephanie Poland, who worked with us on leadership development at a company I worked at before. They talked about your hippocampus and how it reacts to you being in new and different places. It wants to keep you safe, but you have got to get out of that comfort zone. You've got to get out of that box that you're used to. They would say put something in that box to get you out of it so that box is no longer comfortable. We joke you got to put a skunk in your box because you don't want to go back there anymore. But joking aside, you cannot grow unless you are willing to get out of your comfort zone and experience new things. You have to be willing to fail to succeed. You have to experience new things. And how exactly do you look at where you are in the office and the office dynamic, the company dynamic, the strategy? How do you look at things in a new way and get out of that comfort zone to achieve things that your company never thought was possible?
Yeah.
Sometimes you need that to break through that ceiling and really take it to the next level.
Yeah, I think for me, sometimes you just don't know what is better until you try it.
Oh, yeah.
And so getting out of that comfort zone, trying new things, experimenting with everything when it comes to just coming up with ideas. And being in creative, we have to do this a lot of times and get out of our comfort zone. I will spend times in my studio shooting a product, not being able to figure out exactly how to get it to look good until you sort of take it outside and throw it on a car and take a photo of it there, and it looks completely different. So just trying something outside the box is terrifying, but it also allows you to grow as a personal human being. And when it comes to a company, it also allows a company to expand and to try new things and to basically reinvent themselves if they need to, but also just expand what they're able to do.
Well, some of the efforts that you might be trying to put into place at your company could be a new product or a new service that's needed in this post-COVID world, or maybe it's just as simple as sustainability. Sustainability is one of the things that SanMar has recently made a priority, and you've got to hear about this new campaign they've got. So Jeremy's with us now. Jeremy, how long has SanMar been around?
Yeah, so 2021 is actually our 50th anniversary. My dad started the business in 1971, and he started. He had a college roommate who was worked for an ad agency, and my dad was a ski patrolman. He built backpacks for the ski patrol in Seattle, and they had this idea. This ad agency, they were trying to get really a promotional product for Heidelberg Brewery. And my dad's roommate came to him and said, "Hey, could we do backpacks that say Heidelberg on them?" And so he built them backpacks. And that's really how he started the business. SanMar, the company that exists today, he ended up screen printing kind of shortly after that. And anyone who works at SanMar knows the yellow t-shirt story. So the story is he got his biggest order ever, which was for 1,000 t-shirts for the Seattle Supersonics. And they were yellow t-shirts. And he ordered from the largest supplier in America at the time. It was a dry goods supplier out of New York. And he got the shirts, and some were Hanes and some were Fruit of the Loom, some were, 100% cotton, some were 50-50. And he called up the guy he'd ordered from, and he said, this isn't what I ordered. And the guy said to him, "You're a COD customer. We have your money. You have our shirts. The deal is done." And like hung up on my dad. And he was pissed. And he went home and he's like complaining to my mom at the dinner table. And my mom said, "Well, if they're the biggest, why don't you go compete with them?" And so he emailed all the others, he sent a note probably at the time to every screen printer in Seattle and said, "I'm going to become a supplier." And he had he had a mantra. He was like, "I want to tell the truth and be nice." That was his mantra. And so he started SanMar with this idea of, I'm going to tell the truth and be nice. And that was 50 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. I didn't, to think that it came out of that small situation. I love that. Like, just
absolutely,
a bad experience with a client turned into a giant organization now.
Yeah, he saw that opportunity gap and was like, right there is my niche. That's what I'm going to fill for other people.
Yeah. So how big is SanMar now? Like, how many facilities do you have and all of that?
Yeah, so we have 10 distribution centers across the United States with over 6.5 million square feet of warehouse space. We have about 4,000 employees in the United States. Across all of those, we have manufacturing here in the United States in Tennessee, and in a joint venture in Honduras. We have a sourcing office in Hong Kong. We produce in over 23 countries today. So today SanMar is the largest supplier of apparel to the promotional products, industry.
A couple of years ago, let's see, you've taken over from your father. Were you looking for a new way to take the business to the next level, or was this sustainability idea something that kind of fell into your lap and you decided to take on, much like your dad's had an opportunity fall into his lap? How did that come about?
I think my dad always wanted to have an ethical business, but corporate social responsibility or sustainability, those weren't even things people dreamed of in 1971. In the 90s, apparel companies and some large ones, Nike and others, were starting to get in trouble for labor practices. And you saw like demonstrations in college campuses, and there were real labor abuses, especially in Cambodia with child labor and everything else. And so there was a consciousness starting to build about the apparel kind of industry. And at the time, we really looked at it and said, look, we recognize when a SanMar shirt gets a logo on it, it stops being a SanMar shirt and starts being a, pick your brand that gets that logo. And we have a responsibility to make sure our product is made in a responsible way. And so we started a program. We joined the FLA. We became a participating member. We started an auditing program, but we were really trying to make sure that we weren't doing bad things in the world. That was kind of the way we looked at social responsibility in the 90s and into the 2000s. And then in 2012, there was a factory in Bangladesh that collapsed. It was the Reina Plaza factory in Dhaka, and over 1,000 people died. It was, huge international news. And for me, it was kind of this like soul searching moment, a little bit of, are we part of some sort of kind of broader problem that exists in the world?
That's a heavy weight.
No, for sure. And it was like, but I had spent the last, decade or more, traveling and spending a lot of time at factories. And I realized at the time that like there are good factories and good factory managers and teams that are uplifting for their communities and do positive things, and they're bad. And so we flipped that paradigm at the time to say, like, let's make sure we're not doing bad stuff, to let's do good stuff in the world. And so it was how we use our buying power, how we use our influence, how we make investments with factories to do positive things to the communities and the people who make our product. And then I think as time went on, so we really have, that's been a huge focus of what we've done over the last, decade. And then as time went on, I think there was much more of an awareness on the environmental impacts of the apparel industry and on sustainability and what that could mean. And really it came from that same kind of core value of saying, if we're going to make a difference, it can't just be in the people's lives, it also has to be, in the planet. And those things actually go together, right? And I think personally, it was we all share one small planet. I want to do everything we can to make sure that like SanMar's impact is, as responsible as it could be. But also, we've found over time, especially with our own manufacturing. So we in Honduras, I mentioned we have a joint venture. Our partner built a 43 megawatt biomass power generation facility. So we are completely renewable energy. We have the largest on-roof solar installation in Central America on the roof of our textile facility. So we've
Wow.
made huge investments in sustainability. They actually are valuable from a business standpoint. We can drive down the cost of power and other things, but really they're the right thing to do too. And I have 6 kids, so I care about the world I'm leaving them in. And so we're really focused on that. We're about to join an organization that really is committed to science-based targets for kind of carbon emissions. And really the goal is kind of less than 2 degrees. And as we're getting ready to join this, it allows us to put in place kind of what are really core targets for managing kind of our carbon and throughout our supply chain, which is actually a really challenging thing to do, but we're excited to kind of take up that challenge.
We have a question where it's like, what do you think is your formula for success? Do you guys think the renewability and all of this mentality is your formula for success, or is there other factors as well?
I think that when I think about success, as a business, I think that everything we do is around the people. And so, our product is not that differentiated. We sell blue polos, our competitors sell blue polos. We have warehouses, they have warehouses. I think that like everything we do and our success is our real focus on our customer, on servicing our customer, and it takes our people kind of to do that. But our mission of a canvas for good and sustainability and all the things that we're doing is a huge reason why people want to work at SanMar. And so our people have embraced that mission and are excited by it. And so we recognize too that the more as we build our business, the more good that we can do. If I can affect one factory in Tanzania with 1,000 sewers in a positive way, well, wouldn't it be great if I can affect 3 factories with 3,000 sewers, right? And I can only do that if I have more sales and focus on our customer in that way. So I think those things feed off of each other.
Yeah, I think a big thing for you guys is you do so much volume that you can impact. One small change you make impacts millions, thousands of people. And I think that's awesome. The reach you guys have as a huge organization.
Yeah.
As I told you, kind of, I went through this soul searching on the apparel industry, and the apparel industry has a lot of challenges, and I'd be the first to admit that. It also has a tremendous opportunity because we have a factory in Ghana we don't own it; it's a third partner, but we basically gave them the investment to go build the factory. And I went to Ghana when it opened, and I met with the U.S. ambassador to Ghana and the head of USAID for West Africa, who kind of actually also USAID made an investment in this factory too. And he said, do you know what, I love what you guys are doing here, because your small capital investment can create so many jobs. So for a $3 million investment, we can create 1,000 sewing jobs where somebody else is building a big plant. Maybe it's $100 million capital investment that generates 200 jobs. We can generate jobs at scale without significant investment. And we can do a lot of that. And a lot of those jobs are for women in a lot of developing countries where there are not lots of opportunities for formal employment for women. So what the ambassador to Ghana told me was that the women in this factory, most of them come from a neighborhood called Jamestown, which was the original British settlement in Ghana, in Accra, which is the capital. And he said, the only other opportunity for them is to be a head porter. And I said, well, what's a head porter? And he said, literally carrying, goods on their head across town in this like amazing heat. He said, but you've given them a job, you're giving them healthcare, you're helping them to set up a bank account, you're helping with education for their children. It's life-changing for them generationally. And that's what's so cool about the apparel industry. So as much as it has so many potential negatives, it also has so much potential opportunity done the right way.
Absolutely. Well, this is a huge responsibility you've undertaken. What are some hurdles that you ran into along the way? Because this is almost a 180 from as far as sustainability goes. It could not have been easy.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that the first thing was getting our internal team to kind of buy off on this vision, which wasn't hard, but there was a lot of pushback. It was, well, how much more is this going to cost?
Yep.
I mean, I think that's the initial piece. It's like, wasn't this going to cost a lot more for the product? And I think what I have found over time is that when you get good factories that invest in their people and in their communities and in quality and in wages, they also are that the product is better, the delivery is better, the on time is better. So when you measure cost just in like, okay, the FOB cost of the shirt is $592 versus $615, it's more expensive. If you think about what that means to your business in terms of the quality of the product, the delivery of the product, the consistency, all of those things, and what that means to our customer, that extra 20 cents, 50 cents, whatever it is, actually is a huge benefit kind of to our business. And so we don't think it costs us money. At the end of the day, we think it actually makes us money. But that took a long time to kind of prove out kind of for people. When we made the investment around green energy, so Honduras is a really interesting country, and this exists in a lot of developing countries. We don't think about this in the United States, but if I want to open a warehouse, I never think about power. I know that any state I go into the United States, I'm going to have a warehouse, and there's going to be some electrical company that's going to like service me with reliable, inexpensive power. In developing countries, that's not the case, and the cost of power is the number people. This is actually, I think, fascinating. The number 2 input cost in a t-shirt is power. So yarn and cotton is the number 1. Power is number 2. And so in Honduras, you operate in an industrial park that generates its own power because the grid doesn't support these large industrial facilities. And so when we went there, we were burning bunker fuel, and bunker is a really dirty petroleum product that creates acid rain. And it's basically outlawed in most of the world. It's still used in some marine industries, but in some developing countries, it's there because it's cheap.
Yeah.
Well, depending on the core price of bunker, when we built the green energy, oil prices were high, so it was a good deal. As oil prices came down, it's less of a good deal today, but we have consistent green energy that we have used. I think a lot of our customers think is a really important piece of how they're buying their shirts. They don't want it to be creating green, acid rain. So you have to be thoughtful because these investments are significant, and you have to be willing to kind of really commit to them. But I think it's been the right thing for our business. And then just personally, the right thing, I think, morally and for my family and the world.
Yeah, I think that's I would have never thought about that, going to another country and trying to build a factory. You have to worry about power. That blew my mind. Were you a part of like hands-on developing that strategy and everything?
So when we went to Honduras first, we had a partner who was there, who was already a local family who ran a textile business. And they needed capital to grow the business and to invest, and we wanted to be there. And so we developed a partnership where we would invest capital so that they could modernize the facility and buy new equipment and kind of grow. And so, yeah, over time, I've been involved in those conversations. But to be honest, a lot of it has been driven by my partner there, who is incredibly innovative and an engineer and somebody who's always looking for ways to kind of improve. And I think his first motivation always is a true care for the people of Honduras and the country. And he is, obviously he wants to have a successful business and to grow, but I think so much of what he does comes from a place of truly caring about the people in the country and wanting it to develop in a really positive way.
Well, I'd like to take a step back and talk about the point or the first step you mentioned in trying to get this all underway, and that is getting leadership on board. And I think that other people could definitely learn from just how do you even start doing this. So what were the first steps in trying to get everyone in the leadership level moving towards this same completely opposite goal that you'd had been in for a while?
I failed for a long time at it because I would kind of go talk to people about this and they're like, yeah, whatever, great idea, but we're going to go kind of the way we've always done business. And what I did was some of the organizations that we have joined have committed us to certain things. So when we joined the FLA, it was, okay, guys, we're getting accredited. So here's a process that we have to go to. It was kind of that hammer that I could use to push people forward. Yeah. When I mentioned kind of we're this organization to commit to science-based targets for carbon reduction. It's not me doing it. It's like, hey, we've now committed to this. How do we all kind of move forward? And so for me, it was a little bit of that external, like, we're locked in, guys, so let's all get on board. Was really the critical thing that I think helped move us along. I think though, as we went along, people got excited about it because they were seeing what it meant, and it meant to kind of them and to the people. And when we started telling stories about, what this means for the community in Ghana, here's the people, let's tell these stories internally. And so there was a marketing process to our customers, really, but as much, if not more important, to us internally, of like, and then people got excited. They were like, well, how can I do more? How can I get on board? But it definitely was an effort that, took time.
Yeah, I think building that like excitement around it, that to me is like the whole storytelling of it, of how do you make everybody get on board and get excited about this? And yeah, that had to take forever. That's a hard thing to convince everyone to do.
I think so much I really do think there's a generational shift around some of these things. So my oldest daughter is she's almost 19. She's a freshman in college. Like, she really makes buying decisions and purchasing around brands that she has like an affinity for, like the things that they believe in and their purpose. Like, that is a key piece of how she looks at things. And so that's really so dramatically different than, my generation, and certainly my parents, where businesses were like completely like, you sold shirts and stayed to selling shirts. Don't tell me those other things you're doing, and I think the world has shifted so much. And I think that there's a generation that's in business today that really cares and expects the businesses that they work with and they work for and that they do business with to be a positive contributor to the community and to the world at large. And I think that's a really positive thing.
It sure is. What advice would you give to others who want to follow your lead and start not doing good things to make up for how they work, but doing good to begin with?
I think that the other thing I'm just this huge believer in is actually the power of when you can put like capitalism and kind of business profit along with, doing the good things together, that you can be so impactful. It's wonderful to like volunteer in your community and donate to charities you believe in and do all those things. And you should do that. We all do those things. But if you're a business owner and you can affect positive change through your business, I think you can actually be incredibly powerful. And what I would tell people is, don't be scared of this idea of, here's the things that we believe in. Here's the thing as an organization. Here's the things that we stand for. And here's the things that we're going to do good around. And thinking that those things are just going to cost you money or going to cost you customers or other people who don't share those beliefs. I think that it's okay today to take a stand, because there's a lot of people who are going to say, those are the things I believe in. Those are the companies that I want to do business in. And that's how you can differentiate. That's a huge piece of how you differentiate your business from everyone else who does what you do. There's lots of people who sell t-shirts. Our customers have lots of choices. But I do believe one of the reasons they buy from us is that they share some of these values, and they believe that they're part of doing good when they're selling a SanMar shirt. In fact, they are part of doing those good things when they sell our shirt. And I'm always amazed at our customers, what they are able to do in their communities with our product. Somebody told me one time, they said, do you know how to cure cancer? And I said, I don't know. And they said, you have research. And I was like, okay. And they said, you know what you need for research? And I'm like, I don't know. And they said, money. I'm like, okay. And they go, you know how you get money? And I'm like, I don't know. And they said, fun runs, events, walks, parties. And she goes, you know what those all have in common? And I was like, I don't know. And she goes, t-shirts, right? And I'm like, okay, I get it, because we don't just sell t-shirts. We help to cure cancer by what we do. And that's a really powerful thing. And we don't do it alone, but we can be really positive contributors to our communities. And I think that's an exciting thing to be part of.
Well, if anybody listening wants to be part of that cure for cancer or wants to work with SanMar in their future endeavors, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
www.sanmar.com. I mean, our website is there, and we're or call us, but we love to work with everyone out there. So thank you.
Well, Jeremy, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. It was nice meeting you guys.
Nice to meet you too.
I really want everyone in Touchstone to watch this because, I guarantee none of them know this.
No. The promotional products industry, the waste that goes on is insane. If you just order something from a website with your logo on it to hand out at trade shows, it's not going to matter to everybody who picks it up.
Yeah.
It's going to end up in a bag. You get back to the hotel and you're like, how much of this stuff is going to fit in my suitcase? Well, not this and not this. And you leave it there for the cleaning people and you don't think about it ever again.
Yeah.
We do try to make it a little bit more specific. That's one of the reasons I think that we put so much care into the brand archetypes and creating the brand book and the VLPs. We want to really connect what people get with the brand that's giving it to them. So I think that we help a little bit, but the fact that SanMar is doing this
at scale,
on such a big scale is awesome. That turns the tides so much when they take responsibility for something like that.
And I love what he was saying about how they do a $3 million investment. And for some companies, that's a huge investment. For them, it's not. Mm-hmm. And he said that can impact so much more than another company investing a certain amount of money, just because how the scale that they have and the power that they have, they can get stuff set up. They can create a lot of jobs, which I loved him talking about creating jobs for all the families and stuff, or the women especially, which is super cool.
I know not everybody can make that change. Not everybody can do something that big at that level and affect people in other countries. Yeah. But one thing he did share with us that I thought was important for others to remember is when you're starting to change the mindset of the leadership in your company, don't just try to do it internally. Try to see some things that they're trying to achieve. Oh, okay, we want to get membership to this association, and think about what that association is trying to get done. So you're like, okay, well, I can leverage this to get our company to do more good. And kind of sneak it in on the back end then. So it's interesting to see what you can find on the outside of your company to redirect the direction from inside.
Yeah, I think he was even saying it's sort of like that, those external forces that once the ball starts rolling, they have to get on board or they're going to miss it. Yeah, and I always think that's such a hard thing, is to change the idea of leadership and be like, how do you get them on the path that they should be on? And especially a CEO talking like that, he even had that trouble of getting his entire team, which is just, that's wild to me. How do you, I can't even think of the easiest way to get that done.
No, where do you even start? Well, he gave us a few places to start, which is awesome. So hopefully you can take that back to what you've been doing. Is there something you've been trying to do in your company that you can't quite get off the ground because you can't get leadership behind you? Hopefully today's conversation with Jeremy Lott from SanMar gives you a little bit to start with, and hopefully get you looking in a different direction. So if you've got feedback about the show today, or if you have ideas about how to instill a sense of good from the core of your company, or how to instill a little bit of sustainability into your strategy, or even how to change the mindset of leadership to get it turned that way just the littlest bit, look for Create, Inspire, Repeat, Episode 2 on YouTube. While you're there, hit the bell so you can get notifications when we get new videos on there, and tell us what successes you've had, what hurdles you've had, or even who else you want to see on the pod.
Yeah, and if you don't want to watch a video form, we do have this on all podcasting apps. So make sure to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you'd like to listen.
If you want to know more about SanMar, their website's sanmar.com. More about Touchstone is tmgideas.com. You can look us up on Facebook. Just search for the same thing there. And we're Touchstone Life on Instagram if you want to see a little behind the scenes and how we do what we do here.
Yeah. So thanks for listening to
Create, Inspire, Repeat.